Well, I'd like to talk about one of the most controversial topics I have when I'm working with sales teams. And I've experienced it as a salesperson as well in my own career, but also as a sales leader. And that is logging your activity. So having a daily record of your activity. Now, the reason I say it's controversial is often there's a lot of mixed communication on why it's important to log your activity into a CRM on a daily process. Now, from a sales perspective, often I hear, I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want this to be used against me as for my job security. There's no value to it because people aren't going to read my notes anyway. And I hear this kind of often these types of objections. And to be quite honest with you, when I was on the tools myself and as a salesperson in the field, some of those emotions would come out about logging activity. However, what you soon realise, particularly when you start to elevate as a salesperson in your profession, it's not a case of being micromanaged at all. It's actually a great tool on how you can elevate and increase the penetration into your portfolio of clients. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first, and then I'll talk a little bit about why it's so important from a leadership perspective. So why and how is it a tool? So first of all, there's different types of CRMs to log your activity. Things like Salesforce, HubSpot, there's a whole combination, Zoho, where you can log your activity day to day as a sales professional. Now, probably showing my age here, but when I first started in sales, how we used to log activity was actually physical form that we used to write either on a call sheet and would submit that to our sales manager every day or every week on our activity, or we used to do it on what we call customer cards, which were basically these small cards. Some of those listening will actually understand what they were, and there was very minimal information you could put on it apart from your client's details and just what the visit was about or the phone call interaction. The challenge with that system, or the lack of records about the customer, is that if the salesperson leaves that company, a whole lot of information doesn't get passed on. And when you take over as a sales professional into that environment, you've not left with a lot of information about the profile of the customer, any opportunities or anything's pending, or any challenges. So from that aspect, and that's probably more on why it's important for the business, but from a salesperson coming into the environment, you're kind of behind the eight ball, kind of trying to catch up, and just it's like starting fresh again. And I've seen it within companies I've actually come into where they've lost 2 or 3 of their salespeople, they've been poached or they've moved on, and then all that intel's kind of gone with them. So the salesperson that's taken over that territory has to start again. And what tends to happen is they build the territory or build the opportunity, but they've lost a lot of that traction with the previous customers. It's kind of all new business coming through. So how's it a tool for you? If you're in sales right now, how can this be a tool, not a hindrance for disruption of your day? And it comes down to this. What I see in sales areas is salespeople grow their territory, their portfolio very well, but then it gets to the point it gets really difficult to scale, because how they've grown that portfolio is with things like level of service, that interaction with the customer, things like that, and then time becomes the biggest bandit. So it becomes critical on how you can maximize your time effectively. So how can you maximize your time effectively as a sales pro? Well, you need to know where the opportunities are, and probably manage your time effectively where you're spending it in accounts that may not be producing the right results for you, or have the capacity to actually give you the volume of business you need to achieve your success. You can only do that when you've got data. So what I used to do with some of the sales teams I've operated is every quarter I'd run a report of activity, and also I'd run a sideline report on the business obtained through those accounts. And I'd actually provide those 2 reports for the sales professional to go through and say, look, identify what you're seeing. Not me telling them what I'm seeing, but more asking what are you seeing. And quite often they'd be quite surprised and say, look, I'm actually spending a lot of time and investment with this particular client, and it's not returning much on investment of time. However, the client over there, which has huge capacity, I just haven't visited them or haven't spent that much time with them, and it kind of surprised me. It kind of slipped through the process. So it enables the salesperson to be more strategic and aligned with their customer. The other thing it does really well in these CRM systems is the ability to put profile of your customers within those CRMs. And profiling your customers is critical because you want to know how you're going to align your interaction that's going to be meaningful and impact that particular individual. So what I mean by profiling is what their likes are, their dislikes, things like that. So this can be all captured in a CRM. And the great things about these CRMs like HubSpot and Salesforce is they're so user-friendly for a salesperson. You can log a call or an activity within minutes. You can actually even integrate your emails, your phone calls that actually feed through to the CRM automatically. So it does it for you. The great thing is it captures, and then you can basically use that data to your advantage as a sales professional. So you can actually target strategically and really focus on where you're going to invest your time. Building process around your daily interactions. Keeping in mind, we've only got so many hours a day or so many working days per month to actually achieve our success. So we need to be strategic with our time management. You can't do that by being reactive. And that's where it becomes difficult when salespeople have built up an area and then they start to struggle with that workload because they've been very reactive in the past, which is what we do, is what when we're building new business, but you can't keep on managing it like that because you become stuck. So that's probably more of on the sales professional side of things. It gives you the data, it gives you the insight, it's clean, it's tidy, it's easy to hand accounts over. If you want to pass an account to an internal manager, for example, and free up your time to work on other accounts, it gives you all of those tools and it's very clean. Now, from a leadership perspective, why is it critical that your sales team are logging their activity? Again, the myth is, it can be used as a disciplinary tool. Well, it can, but I'm going to talk about that shortly. More importantly, particularly if you're in a company that starts to grow and you've got various stakeholders like publicly listed companies, or you've got a board to report to, what you want to do as a leader is provide clear facts and data. Now, you can't do that if you haven't got any transparency or activity within your sales team. And I'll give you just an example of how that may look. Let's say for some reason volumes have dropped. One of the first questions you'll be asked as a leader from your stakeholders will be, okay, what's the sales team's activity? Has that dropped? Now, if you say, well, no, actually the activity is actually growing. We're actually been doing more interactions with our customers. It's recorded, it's things like that. So that's not the issue. Well, the issue is something else has changed. So it's either where my sales team are dedicating their time, or has there been a new competitor come to market, things like that. But you need data behind. You can't just stand before your stakeholders and say, my gut feeling is this, and this is what my sales team are telling me. You need to validate it. And that's why it's important to have that transparency. The other thing, again, is you start to see basically patterns within that activity. For example, you may see a salesperson that's actually having lower activity as far as calls or visits, but a higher volume of business coming through. So it's really good to deep dive into that and go, well, why is that? It may be specific accounts that salesperson's handling, or it might be their style, it might be something they particularly do, and then sharing that with the team enables you to elevate your team. And again, it's based on facts, not just what your gut feeling is. Not to say that's not important as well, but you need to validate that gut feeling. So I'm going to get to the big one, which often I hear from some of the objections. It can be used as a disciplinary tool. Yes, it can. 100% it can be used as a or performance management. It can. That's a fact of it. So I'm going to talk it from a sales professional. If you feel that you're working in a business that's going to grind you to a point that and micromanage you, it might not be the right business for you. But that's not what logging your calls is all about. That's a whole different thing. So you've got to actually take a step back and go, well, is this business right for me? There's three things I always ask myself in my roles. One, am I doing the best of my ability? And, calling myself if I'm not. Like, everyone's human, everyone has those days, but am I working to my best of my ability? Yes, I'm doing my job. The second one is, would I like to use a tool that can help me through day-to-day challenges more effectively, opposed to just being kind of like confused and kind of pressured because, time's the challenge? Yes, well, I'd love a tool like that. And the third one is this. If I own this business, would I want to capture the activity of my highest paid resource in my business, which is your sales team? Often your sales team are paid significantly higher amounts than your other parts of your business. And that's fine, because there should be accountability on those salespeople to bring volume into your business and grow your business, so it's feeding the funnel. So those accountabilities are fine to be there, and they're paid accordingly for it. But I want to capture it as a business owner, as you would, because it's not even about that individual, it's about the information that's getting brought into the business that's valuable. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose it if I promote the salesperson to a different role or move them to a different part of the business, or if they leave, they retire. I want to capture that information because it's like gold to your business. So that's why there's a great need to log your activity. It's not about micromanagement. Logging activity will actually just give you the facts, and that's what you want as a sales professional. You want to be able to refer to your system and go, yep, that's where I'm at. Allows you to set tasks, things like that more effectively. You're using technology. It takes less than a couple of minutes to do, either on your phone, you can tap it onto your app, or you can have it automated how you want to set it up, and just frees up your mind. So that's my bit on logging activity. It is a controversial topic at times, but I'd just say if you are challenged by logging your activity, take a step back and ask yourself these questions. Am I doing the job that I'm employed to do right, and I'm doing to the best of my ability? 2, would a system that helps me with time management and be more strategic and focused on to opportunities, be it advantageous? It would. And number 3, if I own this business, would I want it logged? And I'd say that will give you some clear direction on it. If you'd like to elevate your own performance or drive your team performance to their success and removing gaps, please reach out. I've got a lot of material and content that I can share with your team, and happy to have a chat. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.